Hello, it's Wednesday, and that can mean only one thing. It's time for X-Men 97. Episode 3 dropped this overnight, and it's another good one. So let's take a look and see what we all thought of it. I know what I thought of it. It was brilliant. So, roll those titles. So, after the explosive start to this new series last week with episodes 1 and 2, this week episode 3, Fire Made Flesh, continues at pace as a adaptation of the 1989 crossover story Inferno, which is one of the biggest and most epic X-Men storylines going. Cramming it all into 30 minutes was always going to be very difficult. However, they do a great job of making this more intimate and more personal to the X-Men rather than a sweeping fight across all of New York City. And I think that works for what they need to do, because there's an awful lot they have to trim out in this in order to make it fit into the amount of time they have to tell the story. And so this episode focuses almost entirely on Madeline Pryor finding out that she's not Jean Grey, and that she is in fact a clone who's been living a lie created by Mr. Sinister, who as always is just wonderfully evil and self-serving all the way through. And it's one of those episodes that could have been really quite terrible had they not maintained this sort of direct focus on what mattered. And what mattered is that despite Madeline Pryor, who she doesn't even choose the name till the end, but despite her finding out that she is the clone and she's not the real Jean Grey, she is still this mother who suddenly finds herself alone with a child, seemingly abandoned by her friends, with an outside influence trying to make her do something, and forced into things that she doesn't necessarily want to do. And that is the core of the story. She is not the villain, she is a victim here in this, and that is told really quite well. And it takes a confrontation in the mind with true Jean Grey to resolve that and pull her back to the light, as it were. But there are many interesting beats in this story that I really like. And firstly, there's how quick that Beast just figures out, a bit of carbon dating of the blood samples. That was, it took no time at all to do. She wasn't even in the lab at this point. He'd done it while she was attached to a drip and lying on a couch. Then there is the absolute terror that Morph shows when talking about Sinister, but also his sort of gritty resolve to not let it happen to anyone else and to help out as much as he can. The transformation of Jean Grey clone from Jean Grey to Goblin Queen is quick but beautifully done, with the baby monitor and tugging on all of her heartstrings while she's alone in the room. The way that she twists the mansion and makes it into this absolutely magnificent horror story. There was some hideous stuff going on there, and I'm not talking about the demons down below. I'm talking about the melting skin and merging of Rogue and Magneto. I'm talking about the people coming out of the television at Jubilee and the New Boy, and then faces coming out of faces and arms, and it was proper wonderful body horror, and it was done really well, and I thoroughly enjoyed every moment of it. And I keep saying this, but I love the way that the art direction is going in this series, and they're willing to put a lot of care and attention into scenes and to backgrounds of scenes as well, just to make it feel more immersive, and that is marvelous. But that whole horror section gave the full team a chance to shine, and you get this excellent scene of Cyclops charging Cable so that he can fully just obliterate all the nasties. And that was great. It gives everyone a little moment to shine. But primarily, this is a Jean Grey and Jean Grey clone episode. And we know she's the true Jean Grey because when she turns up and saves the day the first time, she faints. Which Madeline Pryor did not do, as many people pointed out on the Facebook groups. And that made me chuckle. Back to type a little bit there. But she is so powerful. And I love this series is really leaning into how powerful all of these characters are. Even Jubilee, who doesn't normally get much, in the scene when the hideous freak of a monster mutant whatever comes out of the television, she's there absolutely, just detonating it with her powers, which she often doesn't get a chance to do. So that was nice to see. But yeah, sticking with Jean and her power and her ability to engage from a long way away, and she still doesn't really know much. She doesn't have all of her memories at this point, but she has a rough grasp on her power. She doesn't know how to block out people's power, and so just being in the room with all the other people is overwhelming her. And after Magneto leads the team on the mission, surgical strike, as he says, which doesn't turn out to be so surgical except for him, who gets cut to pieces by glass. While that team's away and it's a little quieter, and Logan is able to get through to her, and she sees truly the depth of his feelings for her, so that'll be interesting to see. Obviously she's still incredibly concerned about Scott, but they're always just teasing that little link between the two of them, and I like that because it's so important to him, if not quite so much to her. But I do love to see it. So yeah, it was great that he's still doing his part, and he's been contained a bit these last couple of episodes. He's not necessarily had the chance to go full angry Wolverine, and he's actually been more of a foil for Jean Grey, and it's an interesting angle to take with him. But I can only assume that means we're going to get a truly awesome Wolverine episode at some point in the series to sort of counterbalance that, because he's one of those people, you don't want to use him at full capacity all the time, but when you do, you want to go in hard. So I'm looking forward to that episode, wherever it may be. But as Jean comes and saves the day as Jean Grey clone, now Goblin Queen, but not yet officially Madeline Pryor, is just eviscerating the team that have been sent to the suitably spooky, evil gothic mansion. Mr. Sinister's lair of choice is, if not to type. It is the most sinister background you could imagine. Perfect evil laboratory, lots of stained glass windows, bats during the screen wipes from one scene to another. It was beautifully done. But as she remotely engages in a mind-off with the Goblin Queen, it's really good to see that she's sort of getting her memories, and that they're sort of merging their memories at this point. So she's becoming herself again, and the Goblin Queen is seeing that actually she's been manipulated in all of this as well, and it's not necessarily the choices she's making aren't the choices she would have made, and that Sinister has got this control over her because he created her, but he's also tapping into her fears as a parent, and that allows her to break free of his control, shatter the little gem on her forehead, and get Cyclops up, and as parents they go and save their baby. But Sinister's a dick, because Sinister's a dick. That's how Sinister works. And has already infected poor baby Nathan with this technological virus that is just, it's heartbreaking to see, because they do poorly baby so well, and as parents it's so easy to empathise. And it was really, heartbreaking to see that at the end there they have to send him to the future with Cable. But although that is interesting, because I want to see how that happens. I want to see how that develops in the future, and whether we're going to flash to the future, or whether they're going to come back at some point. One bit I didn't like actually was Cyclops, who rightfully says that no child should be abandoned like I was, but then abandons his child by saying he can't be any part of what's to come. Now, even just as a parent, I wouldn't be able to not... these are the hardest decisions and they tear you up, but you're always there for your child. And so to see him refuse and just leave, at this point, Madeline to hand off the baby to Cable just seemed Although you can almost understand it, it seemed like a cop-out on his part, and I feel that they wasn't best served by that. But more excellent story beats. It's character building, and that's what we like. It's a scar on his psyche that we're going to maybe revisit later in the series, because every episode is connected so far, and I love that. Even as Jean is talking to Pryor and saying, you could, there's a place for you here, and she's like, no, you've been in my mind, I want to get away and start anew. So she leaves as a friend, and whether or not that turns again and she comes back as another antagonist, who knows. But as that is done, we cut to a bar somewhere way out west, although it's supposed to look where it actually is, who knows. And Storm is in the bar and is drowning her sorrows, and up comes Forge as a friend of Xavier's and says he's going to help you get back what you lost. And so that leads us nicely into episode 4, which will be Life Death Part 1, which is interesting because they've just done this huge massive crossover event in one 30-minute episode. They're going to take their time with Life Death. They're going to do it in 2 parts, and not 2 parts that are immediately one after the other. They're going to do it in 2 parts, and so episode 4 is Life Death Part 1. We then get an episode in the middle, and then Life Death Part 2 is episode 6. So they're taking their time because this is a truly, important emotional beat for Storm, that we need to get Storm back as best we can. And it means that we are going to be, seeing her in the second half of the series again, hopefully. It is interesting to see that she's taken out of the credits in this episode. At the start, she doesn't have her moment because obviously she can't have a moment. She hasn't got her powers. So I like that things are changing on an episode-by-episode basis, even within the title credits, although the tune is still that awesome tune, and the introduction still smacks of this beautiful recreation of the original series. They're using it to add bits and move bits and take people out who aren't necessarily involved, and I think that is brilliant, because it keeps you watching all the way through. You don't want to skip that introduction. You don't know what little nuggets are going to be in there, and that's just shows how thoughtful the production of this show has been. And yeah, so there we are. I cannot wait for episode 4. I cannot wait to see how we start Life Death. I really enjoyed this adaptation of Inferno. I like that a lot. The episode title was an excellent clue to what it was going to be in Fire Made Flesh. I thought that was good. So yeah, roll on next Wednesday. I can't wait. It's going to be brilliant. And in the meantime, because I haven't asked you to yet, please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, share this with your friends, because, well, I just really want you to. I'd like us to get more subscribers so we can talk to more people about this. If you've anything to add to this, please leave a message in the comments down below. That would be great. And if you could possibly take a look up here, you will see some really interesting stuff that I think you might like. So, until the next one, take care. We'll see you later on.